top of a soda can and slurped. I finally bumped into him and knocked his mail to the ground. I didn't see a ring on his finger. Beth snorted, as if that means anything. Yeah, but in the past 3 months, have you ever seen him with a woman at his place? Hailey asked, waiting on a breath for the answer. No, Faith said slowly. And if I hadn't seen him, enjoying himself to a porn movie the other night, I might have thought him gay. Hailey sat up so suddenly she nearly kicked her chair out from under her. What? She shrieked. The man across the way paused as if he'd heard them, and they froze when he looked out his window. Short black hair framed a masculine face full of sharp angles and jagged planes. His chin was firm, his nose strong and straight, and his lips, God, his lips were full and pink and prone to curl wickedly when he was amused. He wore a pair of jeans slung low on his hips and no shirt. The light in his place showed his hearty 8-pack dusted with black hair, and Hailey imagined that hair would feel as soft as down. Damned if she wasn't turned on just from looking at him. Of course, the memory of his naked body was enough to set her scorching. They called him Mr. Tool because he worked construction, but once they'd seen said tool, they'd kept the name in deference to his massive hammer. She wanted to fan herself and eagerly watched him stretch and unsnap the top of his jeans. Faith? You said something about seeing Gage the other night? Last night, I was getting ready for bed when I happened to glance over at his place, Faith said primly. Besides, Jeremy had gone home for the night, and I was bored. Hailey bit her lip to refrain from commenting on how bored she'd be if she had to endure Dr. Jeremy Pichter's tight ass, too. The identical expressions on Sydney's and Beth's faces told her she wasn't alone in that thought. The creep had made a play for her moments after he'd met her, but Faith had shrugged away his lechery by focusing on his money and his looks. Charm and decency, apparently, weren't on her must-have list. What happened with Mr. Toole? Gage, Sydney asked. He turned on the TV, put in a tape, and then sat back on his couch to watch it. You couldn't have seen much, Hailey objected. Bothered, Faith might have witnessed something from Gage that she hadn't. Though it didn't make sense, she thought of Gage as her own personal fantasy. Well, it was hard to see much more than his arm occasionally jerking, but I did see 2 women and a guy getting it on. It didn't take a rocket scientist to put the ecstatic look on his face and the actors on his big screen getting their brains screwed out to make the connection. Hailey wanted to groan. Ever since they'd found Gage a few months ago, she'd wished she'd never moved out of the apartment complex. Despite her love for the little cottage she'd bought, the quiet and peace of the neighborhood could grow a little tedious. Faith, however, had the ultimate party pad. Because of the way the trees stood between the wings of the apartment complex, her apartment and Gage's faced one another at less than 100 feet, but were blocked from neighbors by several mature, sturdy water oaks. And since Faith and Gage had corner spaces, the woods bordered them to the west. What I wouldn't give to be his bar of soap, Amy groaned and crunched on a chip. Gage slowly removed his jeans and returned to the window. He opened it, showcasing bulging biceps. Hoo-wee, was it hot in here? And stared up at the night sky. Bracing his forearms against the ledge, he leaned out, wearing nothing more than a pair of white boxer briefs that were unfortunately half hidden by the low wall under his window. Hailey's heart wanted to pound out of her chest. He looked good enough to eat, and the image that thought produced made her want to bang on his door and ride him long into the sunset. Holy hell, did she need to get laid. I think I'm going to faint, Sydney murmured and chuckled when Hailey elbowed her in the side. Oh, what, Miss Priss thinks she's claimed our Gage? Honey, do you even know how to spell the word penis? Her friends laughed, and she felt herself blush. Was it her fault she'd developed early, earning too much teasing from boys her age?